marijuana's classification will now be reassessed following President Biden's move. Republicans have criticized the action, but rights campaigners are welcoming their impact on racial disparities in the justice system.
I've been expecting it since the first day he came into office. It was one of those campaign promises that we had been told. And it's also a pretty simple fix. Pardoning and removing permanent federal records for simple marijuana possession. We're talking about folks like me who literally had half a joint on them. That's something that really can follow you the rest of your life. And even though I'm a writer and a journalist who works on marijuana policy, it's something that came up in my life too. So this is big, great news today, and it is a good promise fulfilled. I've got my federal marijuana record, which is actually pretty rare. A federal marijuana possession record is a pretty rare thing compared to the millions of records that are out there at the state level or state and municipal offense. There are literally millions of people who have records. And again, that appeal by President Biden for governors to do something, I hope that some governors at least heed that call.
For more on this, we can cross live to Washington and speak to our Rise U.S. correspondent, Eric Ham. Eric, good to see you. Thank you for joining us on Newsday. Tell us the significance of this move by the U.S. president to pardon all Americans convicted at the federal level of marijuana possession.
Well, the president is finally fulfilling one of those campaign promises that he made when he ran for president, that he would decriminalize marijuana. And to be clear, this is just marijuana. This does not involve other drugs, and it does not involve marijuana charges at the state level, which is actually where it's certainly more severe for people who have these convictions. And we're talking about thousands of individuals right here in the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., where the federal government is housed. This will impact thousands of individuals, particularly Black men and women. It will expunge their records, making it easier for them to apply for and attain employment, as well as find and obtain housing also. And so this goes a long way. Many believe that the president made this move only weeks before the all-important midterm elections, as there are a number of candidates who have campaigned on this issue. And it's also important to note that right now in the United States, 19 states, including the District of Columbia, have already ruled that marijuana is no longer a criminal offense to have it, to smoke it, or have it in your possession. In fact, 37 states allow for medical marijuana possession. And so while it is still an illegal substance at the federal level, what we're seeing here is President Biden moving forward to actually destigmatize and make it easier for those individuals who have struggled for so long.
Now, Eric, did this announcement come as a surprise, and what do you make of the timing?
No, it did not come as a surprise. In fact, in neighboring Pennsylvania, where we know that Democratic candidate for the U.S. Senate, John Fetterman, is locked in a very tight race with Dr. Mehmet Oz, a Republican who is being backed by Donald Trump, that he has been calling for marijuana to be decriminalized for quite some time. We know that Fetterman met with President Biden just last week. And so clearly what we're seeing here is President Biden is making efforts to give an assist to those Democratic candidates, but also to energize and excite the most ardent base of Democrats, Black voters, particularly Black women. In addition to that, there have been some poll numbers that have suggested that Black men are moving away from the Democratic Party and towards the Republican Party. And so not only is Biden fulfilling a campaign promise, but also he's making a move to ensure that Black voters stay within the tent.
Indeed. And what's the reaction been, from activists as well as Republicans on this?
Yeah, a number of activists have been very happy. In fact, there has been calls for this to happen. Many thought that this would be something where you would see Congress actually introduce legislation decriminalizing marijuana at the federal level. That hasn't happened yet. But also, too, you remember, President Biden, a longtime fixture in Washington, served as chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, where he made this a central issue. But now we're seeing that he is changing his tune. However, some Republicans believe that this is a step too far and have denounced it. But again, what we're seeing is an overwhelming majority of Americans in the United States believe that it is past time for marijuana to be decriminalized.
All right, that's Arise U.S. correspondent Eric Ham. Thank you so much for your insight.